Hi everybody, welcome to Happyish. It's a podcast where we take a happiness idea every week and have a bit of a discussion about it, think about how it affects us, how it might affect you, and just see what comes out in the mix. This week, we're going to have a think about whether or not we're in control of our own lives.
Yes.
Are we in control of our lives?
Because I think it does. I think we feel happier if we're in control. I think as animals, we want to be in control. Otherwise, we worry. So I think if we could feel or believe that we had control, it would make us happier. Do you think?
Yes. Well, was going to say that we're not really in control of our lives.
Oh, I think we are.
We're in control of how we respond to our lives.
Yes.
But there's so much that is out of our control. Anything you organise, what the weather's going to be like, whether or not there'll be a train strike so nobody can get here. There's just loads and loads of things that are out of your control. But then how you react to it, that's where the happiness comes from, in my view.
But I think all those many things that are not in our control are actually, they have quite a small effect on our lives. I mean, we're not in control of global events, but global events don't really affect us that much. And even the weather, does it affect us that much? We can still do what we want to do. I mean,
this shows that you're very good at responding to events by not getting too bent out of shape, or you're a control freak.
I'd like to ask people watching this to just think, what percentage of what happens to you at home is within your control, do you think?
Yeah.
And also, what percentage of happens to you at work is within your control? So I used to work with a bloke called Mike Jinks years ago, and it's a great name. And he made this questionnaire about assertiveness once. And he said, do you feel in control, or do you feel like a lifeless twig floating down the river of life? And I've always remembered that phrase, because I think some people do feel that they're just a twig and they can't. What can you do?
You can't do anything.
I think you can make a huge difference to everything you do.
Yeah.
And even how
right.
other people react to you is affected by what you do. And you can't totally control everybody else, but you have a big effect on how people treat you.
Yeah.
We teach people how to treat us, and other people can tell what you're like when they're dealing with you. Like a sort of don't mess with me sort of attitude, or I'm a nice person attitude, or whatever.
Or I'm never late, or I'm
and certainly
always buying gifts or whatever.
And we can decide how we react to whatever they do as well. So I think most people have more control than they realise.
Yes, maybe you're
and
right.
that's a good thing to feel. Because then you'll feel happier, but also you'll probably, if you can control what you do and how you feel, you can probably get better results out of life, which will make you happier as well.
Yes.
So I think control is something that I would strive for.
Yeah, but you're controlling yourself, aren't you? Not the things around you. That's what you have to be aware of.
I'm trying to control everything around me as well. But
I know.
But maybe that's unhealthy.
Well, it's not always healthy, that's for sure.
Because you're quite big on acceptance, aren't you?
I am.
Which is that the opposite of control?
But I'm not about just being a doormat, letting everybody roll over us.
Yeah.
But I do think you have to look at a situation and think, can I do anything about this? For example, today we had lunch and they were taking a really long time to serve the lunch.
It took more than half an hour in the pub to bring me my sandwich.
And a bowl of soup.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another story. But we were able to go and speak to them and say, just checking you haven't forgotten us, just that sort of thing. But when you're in an airport and they say the flight is going to be delayed for 3 hours, there's not really anything you can do about that.
No.
But you can control how you respond to it.
Yes, you can sit there and fume for 3 hours, or you can think, great.
Do I know anybody who might do that?
I wouldn't do that. But you can think, great, I'll just read my book for 3 hours or talk to my wife or something like that.
You will be annoyed in the moment, but you just have to just feel that, well, that's the bit you can control. You can't control what happens on the airline, but you can control how you respond to it.
The project manager in me wants to have a plan, assess what the risks are, have backup plans if things happen, so that even if I have to go down to my backup plans, I still feel kind of in control because I'm just doing my secondary plan, which was nearly as good as my first plan. You see what I mean?
Yeah. And it has to be about you, not about the people behind the desk at the airline.
Yes.
So, well, my secondary plan here was we get another aeroplane from a different airline, and then
fire the
tell God to
CEO of
change
British
the weather.
Airways. Yeah, exactly. There are limits, but I think you
that's
can
an
make.
extreme one,
But you
so-
can make a difference to, for example, your boss, or and if you hate your job, rather than going, oh, well, I just have to live with a job I hate. You can get another job or change career. Even takes a bit of time and a bit of work, but I think you actually have quite a lot of control over how your life pans out. More than many people realise. I think people often just they settle for their lot, when actually, if you push back more, you can make a difference to what happens to you.
Yes, and it's your awareness in the moment. You can decide what it is that's making you unhappy. It might not necessarily be your job itself. It might be the fact that you have to have a really long commute, or your office is a bit cold, or you don't get on with the person on the next desk. And there are various things that
you can do
about that kind of thing.
Yes.
So it's again awareness to see what you can control.
So there's that famous saying, isn't there, of control the things that you can control, accept the things that you can't, and have the wisdom to know the difference. And that it's really clever and it's brilliant, and I keep thinking about it. And it sounds very simple, but actually it's quite hard to know which things you can control and which things you can't.
Yeah.
So things like negative emotions, we've already talked about in a previous episode of this podcast. A lot of people say, well, I can't control those, but you can control your own negative emotions, I believe. And then there's how other people treat you, which we've just been saying is sort of a bit within your control.
Yeah.
So then things like your job and your career, is it within your control or not? So to know the difference is difficult, I think.
Well, it's the work. It's being aware.
Yeah.
It's taking the time to. I was listening to something today on the radio which was talking about affirmations, and it was saying that the way it works best is if you know your values and you use affirmations and remind yourself about things that you've done. So if one of your values is kindness, you can say to yourself, well, I was really kind to my colleague last week because I made them tea when I was making tea or something, and remind yourself that you do the things that you value, and therefore you have some control over your life.
Yes.
Or control of how you react to the world.
You've definitely got control over how you treat other people, definitely. Yeah. And then that will come back in how they treat you. Yeah. So in the end, you do control that. I was thinking when we were talking about this episode beforehand, it occurred to me that a lot of people hang their future happiness on something that's totally out of their control, which is the lottery.
Yes.
And they think, I'll buy a lottery ticket because I just might get rich and that'll make you happy. Well, first of all, will being rich make you happy? Secondly, are you going to win the lottery? And yet, they put such a lot of hope on that, and that is probably the only thing that's totally out of your control.
Yeah.
Because it's deliberately randomized. And by all means, buy a lottery ticket if you want, but I don't think it increases people's happiness at all. You're just told every week you're a loser. Every week you've lost. Every week you've failed to win. And I just don't want to be told I've failed to win every week. And there's a tiny chance this massive amount of money is going to come in and push my whole life off course in an unpredictable way.
Yeah.
So personally, I'm not a fan of that. But it's just my opinion. But I think, isn't it interesting how people choose something that's not in their control at all?
Yes. I was just trying to think if there's other things that we do like that are not in our control, or just when you're disappointed by something, when your football team doesn't win, it's no good putting your happiness on whether or not.
No, you can't control that.
You have to just accept.
Gambling is interesting, because people who gamble think it's in their control because they choose the right horse and there's an element of skill in the cards they play or whatever. But really, of course, it's randomized and it's tipped against you in the long term. Yeah. It's not really in your control.
Money.
But there's an illusion of control, which is why it's seductive. But there's one other word I wrote down, which is destiny. And are some things destined to happen to us regardless of what we do.
Oh, now we're spreading it.
I mean, that's a whole big subject, isn't it?
It is.
But you sometimes think, maybe I was just destined to do that. But I think I probably don't believe in destiny. I think probably it's the sum of all the choices you make, and those choices are in your control.
Can you think of what your destiny is and then move towards it? You know, like, am I destined to be a podcaster? And here I am.
Yeah.
When you've worked towards it, work towards things that you want.
Well, I mean, so I'm making video courses for my living now, and you could say I was always destined to do that. But I don't think that's true at all. I mean, I just think, well, for a start, they probably didn't even exist 30 years ago when I was destined to do it.
Yeah.
But also, it's just been a series of accidents and opportunities and choices I've made and things that have added up to me ending up there.
Yeah.
And you can look back and say, well, I was probably always going to end up doing that. But actually, I just don't think that's true. I could have gone down lots of other routes and been maybe more happy or less happy. You know, was I destined to meet you all those years ago at that party at university? And
there's
probably not.
I would say that you were always destined to talk about something to people. You were possibly always destined to teach. So,
but that just means you've got a skill or an aptitude or a tendency to do something. So so I think in the end, I don't really believe in destiny, because I think you control where you go. I think you do have control over the longer term path of your life. And it's a bit like a lot of card games. You get good and bad cards, but in the end, the good players win.
Yes.
and I think as you go through life, you get dealt good and bad cards. And do you let the bad ones throw you off course? Or do you grab the good ones and make the best use of them?
Yeah.
You know, so in bridge, you can win a trick with a jack or a queen because the other person's king and ace, they just didn't use them at the right time.
Oh gosh, we get card playing tips
and
now
stuff.
as well.
Yeah, there's a word for it, I can't remember, but making the most of the cards you've got, finessing or something, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But I do think in life, look, some people really focus on the bad cards and the small bad things that happen to them perhaps.
Yeah.
Or even big things, and they let that ruin their whole life.
Yeah.
And other people, they miss the good things, or they don't seize the good opportunities that come along. And so I think in the end, you have got control over what you focus on, focusing on the good rather than the bad, and how you handle the bad and how you handle the good when they inevitably come up. We all get some sort of mix of good and bad cards.
Lucky cards and unlucky cards all the time. Yeah. So that comes back to, we're not so sure about destiny, but
we do have control.
You do have control to point you in the right direction of destiny.
And don't focus on the bad things, but also don't focus on the few things that really are out of your control.
Yeah.
Like things that happen in other parts of the world or politics or whatever, because they really are out of our control.
I know. They do kind of leak into your consciousness though, don't they?
Yeah.
And you think, oh dear.
Yeah, I think it's...
Is it worth getting up in the morning?
I mean, you could actually go into politics and try to make a difference. But if you decided not to do that, then, you know, that's back to having the wisdom to distinguish between what you can control and what you can't.
Yeah, that's interesting. You could go into politics. I've got several friends that I feel are destined to do something in politics because they have such strong opinions about everything.
Yeah, by all means have a go at that, and you probably could make a difference.
Yeah.
So I think the conclusion of this is people have more control than they think. And I think it's partly about what you say to yourself as well, rather than, I'll just have to settle for that. What's the point? You should say, I'm choosing this, or I'm going to make this better.
Yeah, make yourself feel as though you're in control.
Tell yourself that you are, and you will be.
Yeah, but just don't be attached to what the weather's going to be like on your wedding day.
Yes, exactly. You can still have a great wedding day if it rains. Not that it did on ours. I think it was cloudy. I don't think it rained. If it did, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're going to move on to our new feature, which we have called Happyish. And Sally is the happy part, and I'm the ish part. Shall I go first this time? I was thinking about a couple of things that annoy me. They're only small things, but it's quite fun, isn't it, to think about irritating things. And one of them is when the tennis ball, when you're playing table tennis and the table tennis ball rolls to exactly underneath the middle of the table. So you have to crawl in and get it. That's really a first world problem, isn't it? But it is annoying.
Or when we're playing table tennis in the garden, it always goes underneath the nearest bush or
Yes.
behind a flower pot.
I've got an answer, by the way, which is to have several table tennis balls. And then when they're all right underneath the middle of the table, then it's worth crawling in to get 3 of them.
Or we can train the dog to pick them up. That might be an idea.
I wouldn't trust the dog. The other one that happened to me recently that I thought, that's a bit irritating, is we were given a box of chocolates and they were all different. And I was trying to avoid the strawberry cream.
Oh, you just should give those to me. I love the strawberry creams.
Yeah.
They're my favourites.
Well, I could bite it
and
in
the
half.
orange ones.
And if it's a strawberry one, I'll spit it out and give it to you. But I was looking for it on the box and I couldn't find the picture of it because it had little wavy lines or stripes or something. And I'm sure the one I picked out wasn't in the picture. And I bet they make one type of chocolate that's not in the picture just to irritate people like me.
But we need to know, was it the strawberry cream when you came to eat it?
No,
or did you put it back? Did you?
It was a coffee cream, which was almost as bad.
I think I like those even more than the strawberry
But I think
cream.
if I was making chocolates, that's what I'd do. I'd have one that wasn't on the picture. But anyway, that's my world of table tennis and chocolates. It's not that bad. And I know, really, that I'm lucky to be able to do both of those things, eat chocolate and play table tennis.
Absolutely.
So it's fine. But it
and
is
I
quite
know
fun
now
to
that
be...
I am going to take away the instruction booklet from all the chocolates that we have at home this Christmas.
You won't get the strawberry creams, though, if you do that. Because if I can identify them, I'll give them to you.
Okay.
So
no, I'm going to... That's going to be a fun game.
What's made you happy this week?
Well, the thing that's... One of the things that always makes me happy is this jumper. Hope you're all admiring it.
Oh, that jumper.
This was knitted by my mother. And it was one of those that I saw it in a shop. Somebody had knitted it and we saw it in the shop. And I said to her, I would love that jumper. And so she went, oh, that's okay. I can knit that for you. So she bought the pattern and the wool. And then it was really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know how to start to knit something like that.
So anyway, but she made it and it's really beautifully warm and fabulous. And so I think anything that you can have that was made by a member of the family, whether or not they're still with us, is a real joy. So every time I put it on, it's like she's giving me a hug.
I have to teach my dad how to do knitting then, won't I?
Yeah, but you've got lots of things from your dad that he's carved out.
Actually, it's true. Yeah.
Your dad made me the most hilarious thing years ago when I had the first child and I was breastfeeding, and he made me a little wood thing that had left and right on it, and it had a little door that opened and closed so that I could change it to whichever side.
Yeah, you slid it across, didn't it? So like occupied, not occupied,
so I
from
could
left
look
to
at
right.
it and go, oh yes, I fed from the left side last time, so it's the right side this time. And he just made me this sweetest little thing that came as a gift.
Yeah, that's very my dad.
So there's loads of stuff that your dad has made for you.
Oh, yeah.
And your mum as well has knitted you sweaters and stuff. And so there's all sorts of things. Those things that have come handmade from people are always just a joy. So
good one.
That's for me.
Nice sweater.
And
right. Finally, shall we have a look in the jar of quotes? I'm going to call it the quote container this week, and just reach the quote container and reach out. Would you like to read it out this week?
Yeah, why not?
Got your
My
glasses
on.
So we've got them in really small writing.
I know.
So yes, what does the
really
jar
long.
say this week, Sally?
Oh well, I can tell you it's by Unknown. By Unknown, which is
My favourite author.
Create yourself to be the kind of person that you'll be happy to be with for the rest of your life. No, that's not quite right. Create yourself to be the kind of person that you'll be happy to be for the rest of your life.
I thought it was better when you said be with, actually.
Yeah.
Because, do you annoy yourself? I watched something on TV the other day and there's a comedian and he said, sometimes I just get sick of myself. And I thought that was actually, I could relate to that as well. But so make yourself the type of person that you want to be.
Yeah.
And can you change
Create
yourself?
your own life. Well,
yeah, I think
we've
you
been talking
can.
about the control, haven't we?
Yeah, you can control what you do and you can control your emotions to an extent, and you can control what you think about. Mm-hmm. And in the end, that becomes the person that you are. So where you focus. Are
you a person that you like to be with?
Most of the time.
Because you're very good at being on your own. You don't have any problem with being on, which I think is a sign of whether or not you get on with yourself.
Yes.
Is whether or not you can spend time on your own.
My thoughts don't drive me mad. They drive you mad sometimes.
me mad.
But they also don't depress me, because I think the main person I would want to be with is somebody who's not miserable and complaining.
Yeah.
And do you remember years ago, we had that game where we would only say positive things.
Yeah.
And if you complained, you had to put 50p in a jar or something like that. And we just had a little game to not complain about the weather or anything. And very quickly, we stopped complaining about stuff. And it was great.
And
in fact,
had a massive meal out because
yes,
you put
all
so
the
much
50p's.
money in the jar.
But our friends actually commented as well. I remember people saying, "You're always so positive, you two. How do you do it?"
Yeah.
And the answer is, you just don't say it. And then after a while, you don't think it anymore.
No,
and it just disappears from your life. And I think we've stayed like that even now. When we go on holiday or whatever, we're not always looking. Like, do you remember we went to see a film with our friend Robin? We won't mention his second name. And afterwards, he gave us about 5 things that were wrong with the film. I think it was The Colour Red. Do you remember The Colour Red, The Colour Blue?
I do.
And he was going, this was bad, this was bad. And I thought, yeah, he's right. The film was rubbish. And he kind of ruined the film. And I'd much rather come out of the film with somebody like you who says, that film was great. I really liked this bit and this bit. And so I think, we want to be with other positive people, don't we? And I think you can make yourself into a positive person, and that will make you happier, because you've got to live with yourself as well as all the people who you're with. So
there we go.
Yeah, it's
So
a good
be
quote.
more positive.
Yeah, be the kind of person that you would want to be with, and the person you want to be.
And I think we'll have to reinstate the jar.
No, we don't need it. Well, all right, we'll do it. You'll be the one putting the money in, not me.
Excellent. Well, that will mean that we're much happier next week.
Yes.
Because we'll be putting money in a jar.
So that's it for this week. And we will see you again. It's goodbye from me and from Sally.
Yep. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe and comment. You can comment on YouTube. I think on Spotify you might be able to like. Definitely send the link to your friends saying, listen to this podcast. And we will see you again next week when we will be talking about something completely different to do with happiness.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Stay happy. Bye.